Life often confronts us with a profound truth. People are transient. Relationships, no matter how deeply rooted, are subject to change. We invest emotions, build memories, and anchor our identity in others, only to find that those connections may weaken or dissolve entirely over time. In these moments, when bonds are severed or affection fades, we face an inevitable inner conflict. How do we process such a loss without succumbing to despair or losing a part of who we are? How do we emotionally detach while still holding on to our humanity? Stoicism, an ancient philosophy that resonates in modern times, offers timeless wisdom for navigating these emotional complexities. Far from promoting cold indifference, Stoicism teaches us the art of maintaining emotional clarity amidst life's uncertainties. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most revered Stoic thinkers, repeatedly emphasized the importance of mastering one's mind to preserve inner peace in the face of external turbulence. Emotional detachment is not about becoming unfeeling. It's about reclaiming your power, grounding yourself in rationality, and fostering resilience. This guide will explore 5 foundational Stoic rules inspired by the writings of Marcus Aurelius. These rules are not abstract theories for philosophical contemplation alone. They are practical tools designed to help you detach from emotional entanglements while nurturing personal growth. Whether you find yourself grappling with the loss of a friendship, the end of a romantic relationship, or any situation that leaves an emotional void, these principles will serve as a compass, pointing you toward clarity and freedom. Emotional detachment, when approached through the lens of Stoicism, is not about erasing love or connection. It is about learning to love wisely, to connect without being enslaved by our attachments, and to release what we cannot control without bitterness. By embracing impermanence, challenging our thoughts, and focusing on what truly lies within our control, we develop the strength to face life's inevitable separations without losing our sense of self. Rule 1. Embrace the impermanence of life. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies an uncomfortable yet liberating truth. Everything in life is impermanent. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that the things we perceive as stable are, in reality, fleeting. The people we cherish, the relationships we nurture, and even the emotions we cling to, all are subject to the natural flow of change. In his meditations, he writes, "Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight." Yet, as simple as it sounds, embracing this truth is far from easy. Emotional attachment often begins with an illusion of permanence. We tell ourselves that a friendship will endure, that a partner will always remain by our side, or that the comfort of familiar moments will last forever. This illusion, though comforting, binds us to expectations that reality cannot fulfill. When change inevitably occurs, when a friendship fades, when distance or death separates us from a loved one, we find ourselves unprepared, overwhelmed by grief, and resistant to letting go. Stoicism teaches us that the key to emotional detachment is not avoidance but acceptance. To detach from someone emotionally, we must first acknowledge the transient nature of all relationships. This doesn't mean we should stop caring or investing in others. Instead, we should learn to appreciate people while they are present without becoming dependent on their permanence. Imagine holding a delicate flower in your hand. You admire its beauty, its fragrance, and the joy it brings, but you also know it will wither in time. You don't lament its eventual decay. You cherish it for what it is, a momentary gift of nature. In my own life, I once struggled with the loss of a close friend. For years, we shared everything: dreams, experiences, and countless moments of laughter. But over time, life pulled us in different directions. Despite my efforts to hold on, the friendship changed. At first, I resisted, clinging to what we once had, which only prolonged my suffering. I could finally let go without resentment until I fully accepted that relationships, like seasons, have their natural cycles. Marcus Aurelius would have advised the same. Accept the impermanence of human connections, and you will suffer less when they inevitably change. Embracing impermanence does not make relationships meaningless. It makes them more precious. Knowing that nothing lasts forever compels us to be present and appreciate what we have without taking it for granted. Instead of fearing the end, we learn to savor the now. This shift in perspective allows us to love more freely and detach more gracefully. The Stoics believe that true freedom comes not from denying life's transient nature, but from learning to coexist with it. By embracing impermanence, we free ourselves from the chains of expectation and emotional dependency, opening the door to lasting inner peace. Rule 2. Master your emotions through rational thought. Emotions are powerful forces. They can uplift us, giving life its vivid colors, or they can overwhelm us, clouding our judgment and dragging us into unnecessary suffering. When we're emotionally attached to someone, our mind often becomes entangled in a whirlwind of feelings: love, fear, anger, sadness, all triggered by our interpretations of events. But here's the hard truth that Marcus Aurelius and the Stoics taught us. Emotions are not absolute. They are not immutable realities, but are instead born from our thoughts, shaped by how we perceive the world. Marcus Aurelius famously wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This principle lies at the core of mastering emotions. When you feel hurt or betrayed, it's easy to believe that the external situation, the person's behavior, words, or absence, is directly responsible for your pain. But the Stoics argue otherwise. It's not the event that causes your suffering, but the meaning you assign to it. Emotional detachment begins by challenging the automatic interpretations your mind generates. Consider a common scenario. You send a heartfelt message to someone you care about, and hours pass without a response. Almost instinctively, your mind begins spinning a narrative. Did I say something wrong? Are they upset with me? Do they not care? With each passing thought, your emotions grow more intense. Worry turns into frustration, then perhaps into anxiety or even anger. But if you pause momentarily and apply Stoic reasoning, you realize something crucial. The only fact in this situation is that they haven't responded. Everything beyond that is speculation, products of your mind, not objective reality. By mastering rational thought, you gain control over this emotional spiral. Instead of letting your mind lead you down a path of needless suffering, you can question your initial interpretations. What evidence do I have for these assumptions? Is it possible that they're simply busy? This shift in focus, from emotional reaction to rational inquiry, allows you to reclaim your inner peace. You're no longer at the mercy of your emotions because you've taken control of the narrative. I once found myself in a similar situation with someone close to me. Their silence stirred a storm of emotions within me: worry, guilt, frustration. I wrestled with imaginary scenarios for hours, each more distressing than the last. But when I finally stepped back and examined the situation through a Stoic lens, I realized nothing had happened. My emotions were reacting not to reality, but to my interpretations. When I calmly reached out the following day, they responded without issue, utterly unaware of the turmoil I had created in my mind. It was a humbling lesson in the power of thoughts. Marcus Aurelius's wisdom, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts," reminds us that our inner world is shaped by the narratives we feed ourselves. To master emotions is not to suppress them, but to govern them by applying reason. When you learn to question your thoughts and choose interpretations grounded in reality, you can detach from emotional chaos without losing your capacity to feel. This is the essence of Stoic strength: to face life's uncertainties with clarity, to think without being controlled, and to act with purpose rather than reaction. Mastering emotions through rational thought does not make you unfeeling. It makes you free. Free from the false stories your mind creates. free from unnecessary pain, free to focus on what truly matters. When you realize that emotions are products of your mind, not immutable truths, you reclaim your power and open the door to a life of greater peace and resilience. Rule 3. Practice negative visualization. At first glance, deliberately imagining loss seems counterintuitive, even unsettling. Why would anyone willingly envision losing someone they care about? Doesn't that only invite more pain? However, in Stoicism, negative visualization is one of the most powerful tools for cultivating emotional resilience. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and other Stoic thinkers understood that mentally rehearsing worst-case scenarios prepares our minds for life's inevitable changes. This is not an exercise in pessimism, but a practice in acceptance, training ourselves to face reality with calmness and grace. Negative visualization involves intentionally picturing life without the people, possessions, or comforts we hold dear. Doing so reduces the emotional shock when change or loss inevitably occurs. Imagine a close friend or loved one you deeply value. Now, picture what life would be like if they were no longer present. Feel the discomfort that arises, the subtle tightening in your chest, the reluctance to continue this thought. That discomfort is precisely why this exercise is so effective. Facing potential loss in your mind lessens the impact of actual loss when it happens. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not disturb yourself by imagining the whole of life's troubles at once. Rather, as each arises, meet it with calmness and self-control. The goal is not to dwell in fear or sadness, but to confront life's transient nature with composure." When you visualize losing something or someone, you remind yourself of a fundamental truth. Nothing is guaranteed to remain forever. This realization doesn't diminish the value of what you have, it enhances it. You learn to appreciate the present moment more deeply, knowing it is temporary. I once used this practice during a period of uncertainty in my life. A family member was facing a serious health issue, and the thought of losing them was overwhelming. Instead of allowing anxiety to consume me, I began to visualize life without it, not in a morbid or fatalistic way, but as a way to prepare myself mentally and emotionally. This exercise didn't make the fear disappear, but changed my relationship with it. I found that I cherished our time together more, and when the situation eventually resolved, I carried forward a profound sense of gratitude. Another vital aspect of negative visualization is that it reduces entitlement. We often unconsciously assume that the people and things we love will always be there, leading to attachment and dependency. But when you regularly remind yourself that nothing is permanent, you stop feeling entitled to permanence. This shift in perspective frees you from the fear of loss because you no longer expect things to remain unchanged. In relationships, this practice can be transformative. Instead of clinging to someone out of fear of losing them, you learn to love without attachment. You become less driven by anxiety and more focused on appreciating the present. This doesn't mean you care any less. It means you stop trying to control what cannot be controlled. You're not devastated when a relationship changes or ends because you've already prepared your mind for that possibility. Ultimately, negative visualization is not about dwelling on the negative. It's about embracing reality as it is. By imagining life's inevitable changes, you cultivate an inner strength that allows you to face loss without being shattered. You learn to let go, not because you want to, but because you understand that everything in life is fleeting. And in that understanding, you find peace, not in avoiding life's uncertainties, but in learning to live with them entirely, without fear. This is the gift of negative visualization, the power to detach without hardening your heart and to love without losing yourself. Rule 4. Focus on what you can control. Every relationship has an innate desire to influence outcomes, whether it's how someone feels about us, how they behave, or how events unfold. Yet one of the fundamental teachings of Stoicism, emphasized repeatedly by Marcus Aurelius, is the necessity of distinguishing between what lies within our control and what is not. The inability to make this distinction is the root cause of much of our emotional suffering. When we attempt to control what is inherently beyond our power, we set ourselves up for frustration, disappointment, and inner turmoil. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This teaching becomes especially relevant when dealing with emotional detachment. Often, we remain entangled in relationships not because we genuinely want to, but because we are attached to the outcome, hoping to change the other person's behavior or win back their affection. The harsh truth is that no matter how much effort you put into influencing someone else's emotions, you cannot control how they feel or act. The more you try, the more powerless you feel because you attempt to manipulate something beyond your reach. From a Stoic perspective, emotional detachment is not about closing yourself off or refusing to care. Instead, it's about shifting your focus toward what you can control: your thoughts, actions, and responses. Imagine being in a friendship where you constantly feel sidelined or undervalued. You may try harder to gain their attention, altering your behavior in hopes of receiving the care you believe you deserve. But despite all your efforts, nothing changes, and you are left feeling drained. The Stoic approach to such a situation is simple yet profound. Let go of the desire to control the other person and instead focus on how you respond. You can step back, preserve your dignity, and invest your emotional energy where it is valued. I recall a period when I found myself in a similar cycle, constantly seeking validation from someone who never seemed to reciprocate my efforts. The more I tried to bridge the emotional gap, the more anxious and restless I became. It felt as though my self-worth depended entirely on their approval. But when I began applying Stoic principles, I realized I was chasing something beyond my control. I couldn't force them to value me, but I could choose to value myself. That simple shift in focus, from external validation to internal stability, allowed me to detach emotionally and regain my sense of peace. Stoicism teaches that freedom comes when you relinquish the desire to control outcomes and instead focus on mastering your inner world. By doing so, you no longer place your happiness in the hands of others. You learn to respond calmly to external events, knowing that your well-being doesn't hinge on circumstances outside your influence. This mindset doesn't mean you stop caring. You stop allowing things beyond your control to dictate your inner state. We reclaim our emotional autonomy when we focus solely on what we can control. We no longer feel like prisoners to the whims of others because our peace is no longer tied to their behavior. This shift in perspective is incredibly empowering. It frees us from the endless cycle of seeking approval and fearing rejection. Instead of reacting impulsively to every emotional trigger, we learn to act with intention, guided by reason rather than emotion. The Stoics believe that true strength lies in self-mastery. By focusing on what you can control, you detach from emotional entanglements and cultivate a sense of inner resilience. Stop fighting battles that cannot be won, and start directing your energy toward what truly matters: your growth, your values, and your peace of mind. In the end, emotional detachment is not about abandoning connection. It's about maintaining your sense of self amidst life's inevitable changes and uncertainties. By mastering this rule, you build a foundation of unshakable inner strength. Rule 5. Reflect on the bigger picture. It's easy to feel like the world is closing in on you in moments of emotional turmoil. A breakup, a betrayal, or the loss of a cherished connection can dominate your thoughts, making it seem like this singular event defines your entire existence. But Stoicism offers a remedy: stepping back and reflecting on the bigger picture. In his meditations, Marcus Aurelius frequently urged himself to rise above immediate concerns and view life from a broader, more objective perspective. He reminded himself that life is vast, ever-changing, and far more significant than any fleeting moment of pain or joy. They become the center of your emotional universe. When wimply attached to someone, your happiness, sense of worth, and emotional stability may seem tied to their presence in your life. But is this truly the entirety of your existence? Stoicism invites us to question this perspective by shifting our focus outward. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Observe how transient and trivial is everything mortal, and see the vastness of time stretching before and after you." This reflection isn't meant to minimize your emotions, but to help you understand that what feels overwhelming now will one day be just a small chapter in your life story. Think back to past experiences when you believed your world was falling apart. Perhaps it was a lost relationship, a missed opportunity, or a period of profound disappointment. It likely consumed your thoughts and emotions, making it hard to imagine life beyond that moment. And yet, with time, the pain faded, life moved on, and you grew from the experience. What once seemed insurmountable became a distant memory. This is the natural rhythm of life. Events come and go, emotions rise and fall, but life continues to unfold. I remember a time when I faced what felt like an insurmountable loss. For weeks, I was consumed by thoughts of what could have been, replaying every detail in my mind. It wasn't until I consciously took a step back and asked myself, will this matter in 5 years? Is this truly the defining moment of my life? That I began to find relief. By broadening my perspective, I saw that while the loss was significant, it wasn't the end of my journey. Life had more to offer, and I still had the power to shape my future. Reflecting on the bigger picture doesn't mean ignoring your emotions or pretending pain doesn't exist. Instead, it means recognizing that no single event or person can define your life. Life comprises countless moments, relationships, and experiences, all woven together to create a larger narrative. Focusing on this grander view reminds you that while the present moment may be difficult, it is not permanent. Time will pass, you will heal, and new opportunities will emerge. The Stoics believe that adopting a broader perspective helps avoid unnecessary emotional suffering. When you realize that life is much larger than any relationship or hardship, you free yourself from the tunnel vision that intense emotions can create. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. You learn to appreciate the present without fearing its end, knowing that every experience, whether joyful or painful, contributes to your growth. Ultimately, reflecting on the bigger picture is about finding balance. It's about understanding that while emotions are real and relationships are meaningful, they are not the totality of who you are. You are a complete individual, capable of weathering life's storms and emerging stronger. By embracing this perspective, you cultivate the inner peace that comes from knowing that no matter what happens, life goes on, and so will you. This is the gift of Stoicism, the ability to find clarity amidst chaos and to navigate life's inevitable changes with grace and strength. Conclusion: emotional detachment, as presented through the timeless wisdom of Stoicism, is not about suppressing your feelings or becoming indifferent to the world around you. Instead, it is about cultivating a mindset that allows you to navigate life's inevitable changes with grace, clarity, and inner strength. By embracing impermanence, mastering your emotions through rational thought, visualizing life's inevitable losses, focusing on what you can control, and adopting a broader perspective, you equip yourself with tools that promote resilience, emotional balance, and personal growth. In a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable, learning to detach from what you cannot control is an act of self-liberation. It frees you from the emotional chains of dependency and external validation, enabling you to live a life guided by inner peace rather than external turbulence. This is the essence of Stoic philosophy: to cultivate the kind of strength that doesn't deny the hardships of life, but transforms them into opportunities for growth. As you apply these Stoic principles, remember that emotional detachment isn't about isolating yourself. It's about setting boundaries that protect your inner world while still engaging meaningfully with the people and experiences that matter to you. Detachment allows you to care without being consumed, to love without losing yourself, and to move forward in life with a steady and composed heart. If you found this guide helpful and want to explore more Stoic wisdom, philosophical insights, and practical advice for personal development, subscribe to this channel. Together, we can continue to learn, grow, and embrace life's challenges with the calm and strength of a Stoic mind. Don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts. Your journey may inspire others to see clarity and balance in their lives. Thank you for watching, and as Marcus Aurelius would remind us, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Let every obstacle you face become an opportunity for growth. See you in the following video. Stay strong, stay stoic,